last session of the day. We have the honor of closing us out here, as well as following Christine and Catalina. Tough act to follow, as was said earlier. I am joined by Mark Sucris and Scott Sacha, and I want to kind of bring it home with a talk about how we justify, how we sift through the noise of AI and all the vendor noise that's out there to say, what are the real returns that we can expect? And then how do you make that conversation within your organization? How do you pitch it upwards? How do you evangelize the KPIs that you're sharing, et cetera, et cetera? These are two customers of ours. I'll have them introduce themselves momentarily, but this is, I know, something that is front of mind for everyone. You'll hear their two organizations are as far apart as you can be, I would say. But they have this in common in that everyone has to put a business case together. Everyone has to, especially in a frothy market like AI, make sure you're distilling down to what actually matters. How are we expecting return on value in these platforms? So Mark and Scott, quick introductions, your role, your organization, what it do, what you do, how long you've been a Dataiku customer, et cetera.
Sure, I can start. You promised me we weren't going to be in front of happy hour, so we're going to have to make this enlightening. So Mark Sucris, I work at Epsilon, so I'd ask for a show of hands, but I'm sure they're not going to be many. But Epsilon is a worldwide leader in marketing. We're an agency group worldwide. And I run our ML and AI practice. Been there for about 10 years now. But I've been on the other side of the fence. So I also was the head of MarTech at Dell Technologies down the road in Austin for about 10 years. So had a lot of experience even on the same his side of the fence. But great to be here. Thanks.
Hi, Scott Sacco with McKesson, CoverMyMeds, and I run the data science org there. And CoverMyMeds, if you don't know what they do, we try to help patients get medication through software, basically. So we help patients get through prior authorizations, reduce copays, basically trying to get medication to help people live healthier lives. And that is our motto. And I've been there about 11 years. And so I think that for me, similar to you, the one thing is I've sat in every seat, I think, at CoverMyMeds. I started as one of the first data scientists there to now where I lead over 50 of them. So it's a good perspective to have when you're able to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, something neither of you are not unfamiliar with is evaluating software solutions, finding the right fit for your organizations. But as it relates to AI and a hot topic and a hot commodity, it's how have you positioned and made the case for a platform like Dataiku within your organization? Yeah, go ahead, Mark.
Sure. So I run actually an engineering team and not a data science team. So my decision is probably a little different than Scott's. When I came to Epsilon, I was asked to build personalization engines for our clients. And one of the things coming from the Dell community, I just want to make sure that we were building something that wasn't a black box. And within that decision that we had to make for product development was really trying to find software that allowed for a lot of transparency, visualization tools, and a way for us to bring an accelerated value to our clients. So that was one of the reasons we've been with Dataiku for about 8 years now, and that was one of the reasons that we selected them. Being a leader in the space didn't hurt. And I will say that, even though I don't run the large data science organization at Epsilon, it has been a little bit bees to honey, where instead, we've tried to encourage not chasing a lot of shiny toys out there and migrating away from things like SAS, and you heard about Excel and things like that, and moving over to Dataiku. So more and more, we're seeing large pockets of our analytics teams also moving into the Dataiku space as well.
So I think I take a bit of a different approach, probably than most people do, because I have never proposed to my leadership an ROI on software. And the reason I don't believe in that methodology is This software is just like Excel. Like, do you look at an ROI on that? If I'm going to build a house, I have a hammer. I'm not looking at the ROI on that. I'm looking what I'm outputting out of it. So when I went to my leadership, I presented it more as like, look, we know the software works. Thousands of people use it. Like, there's no question. So if we can't generate ROI, that's on my team, my people, because we're not coming up with the ideas. We're not executing. It's not the software's fault. So I'm not going to sell them on a ROI that is, for the most part, when you look at ROIs, a lot of times on software, they're very soft too. It's, it's time saving and things like that, which is important to a lot of things, but executive leadership always wants to know dollars. And I don't like getting in that conundrum with them when I know in the end of the day, really, I will generate ROI because I will generate things out of the software.
Yeah, and we've talked about this a little bit before. I think one of the considerations was for you or for your org was do nothing, right? Like continue the path that we are doing, which is a lot of a build component, or buy something that does a lot of this. So a lot of folks have that similar build versus buy debate. Is that something that you had to have a discussion around?
Yeah, and we still have that discussion because I'm being a part of a broader organization. Half of McKesson's building, we chose to buy. And the thing that I think that is missed when you do build is the actual cost of a build. It costs a lot more than people think it does because you're sort of reinventing the wheel. There's a lot of people you got to hire. There's time it takes. There's software you have to buy for that as well. So it's a continuous debate. For me, it was easy. Buy was the option because it's quicker, it's faster. We're way ahead of corporate McKesson at this point because of that.
Right, and the analogy I think I've stolen from a prospect or a customer in the past was that build versus buy, open source versus proprietary. Open source may seem free. It's free in the sense that a puppy is free, right? It's free until you have to train it, clean up after it, watch it, train it, all of that. So, certainly there's some hidden cost of the build approach. Okay, so in terms of becoming a Dataiku customer or starting to adopt a new technology, what were some of the challenges that you had along the way to realizing some of the value that you might have expected on the onset when you bought the software?
Yeah. I think from a change management perspective, there was a number of hurdles we had to overcome. Some were resource hurdles, like, folks embedded into their normal day-to-day processes and trying to get them out of that mindset and over to something different. There's also process change as well. And obviously you can imagine we have a lot of verticals. So, breaking down the walls of that to help with adoption took time. It wasn't easy, and we still go through that today. But I will say that, Dataiku has been a great supporter of helping us overcome those hurdles. And when we do have problems, we bring you guys to the table all the time. And I think cost has been a big effective way to do that. So through the years that we've been working with you guys, showing an effective cost reduction on spend, because I run an engineering team. And so, as you can imagine, engineers want to build everything. And they want those puppies, sorry to say. But, as the head of the engineer group, I didn't want to build. So we chose to buy. But it did create change management problems that we've had to overcome. There's and hiring different types of resources and resource needs than we may have in the past. So, but it's been good. So thanks.
Yeah, I think we have very similar. And I do have a new puppy, and my God, it is a lot of work. Sleeping is not as easy as it used to be. We struggle a little bit on two fronts. One, we have a very complicated infrastructure, so getting connections to everything, getting everything connected when you have multiple networks even, it's challenging, and it's nothing to do with Dataiku. It's more to do with our infrastructure, but it is super challenging and frustrating at times because you just want to get on and do things. But Dataiku, again, is a great partner, and they've really helped us get through it, so it's made it a lot easier. The other part of it is data scientists sometimes have an aversion to the word low code, no code. They tend to run from it for some reason because they know how to do it already. And so that's been a little bit of a change management challenge for us, just getting people, like, just try it. It's fine. You'll be okay. Like, nobody's going to look at you less if you try it. Trust me. We'll be very happy. So that's been a little bit of a challenge, a lot of, like, well, why would I do it that way questions. And again, Dataiku brings a lot of, good examples and reasons why it's helpful. And, I think sometimes it's looking at the big picture, whereas, like, from where I sit, it's like I can onboard people quicker. I have more documentation. Things like that are extremely important.
I think one other thing I'll comment is, for those of you in the data science community, I could ask for a show of hands. Probably a lot of you should. Where's the replacement of resources with AI coming in? And as the engineering team building product, we've actually been able to show a higher demand for data science communities. And I think that's actually helped with that change management adoption that Scott's talked about, right? Is that we're not reducing workforce, it's not taking away jobs, it's actually empowering them to be more successful in the work that they're doing. So obviously, we'll talk about impact here in a minute, but to drive that impact that, Scott's alluding to.
And I think too that the time, like you said, like my team's always at capacity, at bandwidth. So like these things help facilitate that and add back more critical use for them.
That's a really good segue to your point of how you start actually measuring the impact of any AI initiative, but specifically with Dataiku, right? Mark, I know you have as Mark alluded to, Mark runs a team that provides solutions for clients, so he's constantly trying to sell the value to his clients of how his solutions are helpful to him. So when you talk about measuring the impact, that's part of your day in and day out. Do you want to talk about how you do that with clients? And then Yep.
I think I first need to talk about my compensation for all those sales. I'm just kidding. As Ryan alluded to, so we're building products for our clients. So we have clients in every vertical: pharma, healthcare, retail, high tech, and we're the engine that powers all the personalization programs that we build for our clients is run through Dataiku. That's kind of the engine that we have. And so for us, measuring impact is all about driving, key KPIs for those brands that are associated with revenue, better engagement metrics. So we love all the pretty pictures that were shown earlier with all the nice bar charts and spider charts and everything else that's out there. But I'll still get CEOs that'll just say, well, that's great, but how is this actually, how do I make more money? And so for me, that was why we turned Dataiku into a decision engine, is a way to tie it to the end user experience and the execution. Do I get more bookings? Do I get more revenue? And the pretty pictures come along for the ride. But that was one of the big drivers of how we measure our impact, is that client success story.
As we say, money talks, right?
Money talks, that's right.
Okay. Scott, I know you take a little bit of a different approach.
Well, ours is similar in a lot of ways. Ours goes to our products. Like for us, it's a lot of times, what can you add value as an organization? How can you make people's jobs easier? How can you make us sell more? So for example, one of our things we just recently built is an RFP engine. So we have a lot of people that work on RFPs. It takes a ton of time. They're 1 million pages long. But we answer the same thing on every one of them, just about. So now we have an engine. You can suck it in. It reads the RFPs and it answers the questions. And then we have people can spend their time actually looking at the RFPs and evaluating them and editing them to get more of a. It reduces the time, but it also makes it more effective, which has been super helpful because it makes us able to win more RFPs. And then the other one is we're working on currently something that's called denial reasons, which is a big deal in the pharmaceutical industry. A lot of people don't know when a plan rejects you for a PA, why. So we're in the process, and right now we're reading about 300,000 documents every hour just about, and pulling out denial reasons of why these people aren't. And by doing that, you start to learn new trends, you start to learn why plans are rejecting the drug, and that helps the manufacturers to facilitate that and get the drugs to the people they need. And funny enough, we found some stuff that we didn't even know existed in there, and we would have never found it because it was like a needle in a haystack. And then the last thing is we do a lot of, we assist sales on things, and so we try to show the value of our products to our customers. And one thing that our data scientists do is they do a lot of linear and logarithmic regressions. And the problem is those are the two they do. But there's also other types of regressions you can do, believe it or not. And so running it in Dataiku where you can see them all and score them out, that's incredibly useful. And it makes, you really are able to portray a better value to your customers. And we can store it and know why, who chose what, and why.
Right, the explainability of not just here's the result, but how we got to it.
Yeah, and there's zero documentation currently going on, so that's a good thing.
We heard a little bit earlier from Jada and NXP about some of the forums that they have to share some of the use cases and successes, and maybe taking a step back to the change management bit. Is that something that either of your organizations do to kind of do some more knowledge sharing internally of what's working, what's not working?
Yeah, we do that fairly regularly at all levels, and vertical leadership and executive level. I think it's been really helpful to kind of share those. And for me, I got lots of client success stories. So it's the proof is in the pudding, so to speak. So that's been really helpful. I think one thing that Scott touched on that also I think is useful is when marketing, running in a marketing organization, when things run in a black box, it's really hard for compliance officers to understand why things are occurring the way they are. And to Scott's point, having that transparency, that end-to-end transparency on how things like the models are working, the data pipeline works, and being able to get in front of a compliance officer and show them how marketing is actually working has been highly effective. So that's also kind of something within the change management piece that's been working.
And for us, we recently just started an AI academy within our org, and that kind of works as an education venue, but also as hey, we did this. Look, let me show an example of what we've done, and kind of showing that throughout the organization, and that's been really helpful.
Yeah, I love those forums because I think they're it's the soft selling. You don't drop a 20-page deck on your boss's desk and say, here's all the value we've realized, right? It's through the conversations and the other forums that are more natural that they're hearing about the successes and things like that are helping, implicitly sell the value of the platform.
And I know that's something that they talked about earlier, but it is critical to get those early wins and make them easy on yourself. Don't make it so hard, because people appreciate the wins and they're able to see the difference of what it is. They can grasp it, and I think I always thought that everybody grasped AI right out of the gate, and yeah, and apparently they didn't, because we had a conference and there was 300 top leaders there, and this was early on, and they asked how often how many of you use AI every day, and 2 people raised their hand, and I was like, okay, better change how we approach this now. And so it is one of those things that I think, if you can give something to somebody tangible where they can see it help the organization, it really moves them in the right direction.
Okay, so what's next? What does the next 12 to 18 months look like? We talk a lot about LLMs, generative AI. Is that part of your roadmap? Is it more kind of your traditional machine learning? What does the priority look like for your organizations over the next 12, 18 months?
Yeah, you sort of stole it. For me, it is a lot of the Gen AI focus. I also run our conversational AI practice, and so this is going to play a role there as well. Right now, for marketing, it's not playing a big part of our media and ad buying organization. Next year, it will be, we'll have the little powered by Dataiku and all that. Next year. So that'll be a big part of it, is in the ad buying space. I was told on a call earlier today that if anybody has seen the new marketing ads with Will Ferrell and doing the PayPal experience, that's run from our organization, and they said, we need to make sure that that's touching all the right people. So make sure Dataiku is behind the scenes for the ad buying stuff. So those will be the kind of some of the things that'll be hitting the platform next year.
I think for us, it's we have a lot of micro infrastructures going on right now as we onboard onto Dataiku, and I think the key for us is I like the concept of an AI factory, and that's where you really accelerate what you're doing by having reusable parts. And so for us, it's building more ML models, building more AI use cases so that, like, for example, if you trained a model on zip code and weather, okay, well, now I want to add another feature to that. All I have to do is look and say, that's already exists. I just add this and cuts my training time down. And then we really start to accelerate our development time and putting things out.
I think one other thing I'll comment on, and I think it just made me think about, one other thing that we're doing, we just kicked it off, and we'll probably run it in the next year as well, is we have this, what we call Champion Challenger group that we've just created. And Dataiku and the product work that we've done is we consider that the champion. And the Challenger group is a data science community. So it's everybody, it's all humans in the loop, and their mission is to beat what's in production. And can they build better hypotheses? Can they build better models? What can we learn from that? And anything that goes into that goes into the champion, so they get to wear the crown to say that they had the best model.
Is that like an annual thing, or is that an ongoing open?
We don't know yet. We just started this recently, and the reason that was born out of requests from our clients. Clients just saying, how do we foster better data science and experimentation work? And that's where that came from. So we're doing it in-house. It'll be something that we bring to all of our clients. So we'll see. I don't know where that's headed yet, but
that's really cool. I've got in here closing remarks, any final thoughts, but in the spirit of happy hour, I guess I will ask you this question, which is unscripted, so I apologize. If you had to describe the maturity of your company as it relates to AI as a cocktail, what would it be?
I think mine would be probably a White Russian because it's a little bit foggy.
Wow. Man, you should have led me for that one.
I apologize.
No, it's okay. I would say we're from my organization. I'd say it's probably something like a vodka tonic because it's traditional and it's still good. From the company though, it's probably some very remote craft beer because there's still a lot of work to be done right now.
Yeah,
so
I think from a company,
it might be my home brew, in fact, because you may not want to drink it right now. So.
From a company perspective, ours is the old fashioned.
Okay, yeah.
All right, thank you both very much. I appreciate it. Thank you everyone for sticking with us, and I will wrap us up, and then we will head to happy hour.